Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany. And so today I'm feeling really inspired to just walk through the useful or very practical information that you can get when you're looking at your entire family unit chart. So I'm going to be showing you an example of a real family that I did a reading for, and there were two parents and three kids. So first of all, I just want to say that you don't need to see a human design reader to get a good sense for the practical information that your family's charts can tell you. So this is something you could research on your own. I have a lot of free information in my website. I have a lot of free information in my library. And so if you wanted to do something similar where you're taking your charts, maybe it's you and your partner with your kids side by side and you're taking a look at things, you're able to do this on your own 100%. The way I structure my family readings is that they're the same price as my solo readings. But the difference is when I'm doing an individual reading, we're going super deep into the chart, into all the things about your chart. When I'm doing family readings, it's more of this broader view. What are the themes? How can we be more understanding of what's maybe is going on with other people in our family energetically? What's showing up in their charts as far as like diet? How should they be eating? Those sorts of things. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is in this example, you'll see that I have parent A, parent B, and then we have child A, child B, child C. And in this example, we have a blend of different energy types. We have two generators in this family, and we have two manifesting generators, and then we have a projector. So what are you going to get from this information? The first thing you're going to get is how do people in my family, these individuals, these kids that I have, my partner, how are they designed to use their energy in the world? So in this case, with this family unit, you'll notice that we've got basically four generator types. And so these individuals, their energy is going to be utilized in the same way. But then because we have this projector child over here, child B, they're going to be designed to use their energy in a different way. And so it's very helpful if the parents, especially, understand how this child is going to operate differently than the other two children that they have in the house. So, just to give you a little bit of an example, in human design, generators and manifesting generators, when they're doing things they love to do, they're going to generate energy. So we need to be very aware that our projector child, who does not have a defined sacral energy center, they are not going to generate energy when they're doing things they love to do. So we might see that this projector child is maybe being called or labeled as maybe lazy, but really what's actually happening is that they're getting burnt out faster. Their energy, think about the energy inside of us, like this battery, their battery is getting drained a lot more quickly than the other energy types in their family because when they're doing things they love to do, it's not giving them energy, it's probably taking energy from them faster. So this is why it can be really helpful because if we understand how this projector child, how their energy operates differently, then we can be more supportive to that child. We can be more understanding of what's going on and we can make sure that activities and things in the house are structured in a way that's also supportive to their needs. The other thing I like to look at when I'm looking at family charts are the arrows on either side of the ajna energy center. And the reason this is helpful is because generally speaking, and I'm being reductive in saying this, there's a lot more that goes into this, but basically, when you see arrows that point left, it tends to be someone who will thrive with more structure. So the more arrows that they have that point left, the more structure they thrive with, right? And then arrows that point right, they tend to need more flexibility, fluid. They tend to just live a more flexible, fluid lifestyle. So if we're looking at child A, the manifesting generator here, they have four arrow that points right. This is something we call the quad right. So this child in particular in this family dynamic is going to operate very differently than the other individuals in the family. So because their arrows are all pointing right, they're going to probably thrive with less structure. They will probably thrive with less consistency in their day. And so when you have a parent that has left facing arrows, and maybe, the other thing is we get these external voices that tell us, oh, to parent, you have to provide structure, you have to provide consistency for your kids. And yes, absolutely, that's true. But having this information is going to help you better support the child that has more arrows pointing to the right, because maybe they need a little bit of flexibility. Maybe they don't need to be as overly scheduled as some kids in the family who have a lot of left facing arrows can be tightly scheduled and they're good with it. But then when you have somebody who has the right facing arrows, they may do better with a little bit more flexibility. And if there's any way to honor that and build that into their day or build that into their life in some way that's supported to them, that's going to be super helpful. The other thing I like to talk about when I'm doing family readings is authority. So, in human design, your energy type, strategy, how you're leveraging your energy to move through the world, but then also how are you making decisions, which is your authority. And so, it's really important to understand how different family members are designed to make decisions. So, for example, Parent A, in this example, has sacral authority, which means that generally speaking, they're going to make decisions pretty quickly. They're going to know if something's a yes or no pretty quickly. Same with child B, they have splenic authority. So they're going to know pretty much in the instance, like if something is energetically correct for them or not. When you know, especially when you're the parent, when you know how the authority voice of your child shows up, you can have conversations with them and help them understand what a yes or no looks like for them. So in this case with splenic authority, if you have a child and they're deciding if they want to say join some club, and you would ask them, okay, so with splenic authority, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is this something that's a yes for you? Does it feel like a yes? Does it feel good in your body? Or is there something about it that doesn't feel right to you? And if they say, well, I don't know, and you might dig a little deeper and be like, okay, when we talk about doing this thing, this activity that maybe you might want to do, is it a little scary to you? And they might say, oh, yeah, it's a little scary because I'm nervous because it's a new thing. And so you might say, well, is it scary, exciting, or is it scary like something doesn't feel right? It feels kind of gross. It feels yucky. And so the scary, exciting is probably going to be a yes. And so it's helpful to help that child understand how that authority voice speaks for them when they know something's a yes. If they say it's scary, yuck, and then you'd be like, okay, maybe that's a no for us right now, but we'll come back to it later. And if you decide different, we can always have another conversation. The other thing is if you have people in the family who need time before making a decision. So in this case, we have three individuals who have emotional authority. And in that case, they're all going to be operating on their own emotional wave. And so when it comes to making a decision or yes or no about something, we're going to want to allow time for that individual to come to that decision and make sure it's energetically correct for them. So, parent B, for example, who has a faster hitting sacral authority, when they're having a conversation with parent A, they're going to want to understand, okay, they have emotional authority. So, even if I'm understanding what my answer is, a yes or a no, I'm going to know I need to allow my partner a little bit more time. Maybe it's a couple days, 72 hours to really think about something before I push them. Same with children. When we're asking children, do you feel like this is a yes or a no for you? And again, this is for these bigger decisions, maybe not these super in the moment, like, hey, what do you want for dinner type decisions? But when they're making a decision and they have emotional authority, they're going to need a little bit of time to really process it, make sure it's the right thing for them. And so that's how parents can support their children in making decisions, especially if they have emotional authority, is being like, hey, something for you to think about. We have this opportunity to do XYZ. I'm going to give you a few days to kind of mull it over. Let's talk about it and just give them time to really process, to decide if something is energetically correct to them, if it feels good to them. And the last thing I want to touch on in this video, because obviously I get into lots of information when we're looking at charts. It's a 90-minute session, so we go all kinds of places. But the next thing that I think is very helpful is understanding the digestion profile for everybody in the family. And so the reason that's helpful is sometimes, especially in a family dynamic where you have several children, more than one, and you've got two parents, you run into these situations where so and so wants to eat dinner late at night, or they want to sit down at a table, and then you've got other people who just seem to have different preferences, right? So how do we navigate that? So you'll notice that in this family example that I have, everybody has a different digestion profile, a different approach or perspective on how they should approach eating. So, parent A, for example, has something called buzzing nervous touch, which is they're going to digest their food better when they're eating on the go. Maybe they're eating as they're cooking and touching things. Maybe they need white noise. Maybe they like to eat in front of the television and they want to be multitasking while they're eating. So, this individual is going to digest much better in that situation. They are going to be more inclined to grab a protein bar and walk out the door and take it in the car and eat. Parent B has hot food. So this is more of a leaning towards hot foods, and hot foods are going to prime their digestion. And but think of hot in terms of temperature, but also hot foods in terms of spiciness. And then child A has cold food, which is the complete opposite. And then we have child B with daytime, meaning it's better for them, it's more energetically correct for them to have their biggest meal in the daytime. So they may be a breakfast or lunch eater and then not want to eat so much in the evening, or maybe it's not energetically correct for them to eat a lot in the evening. And then child C has consecutive appetite, which I won't get into the details of that one, but you can see how this creates these different dynamics that are going on. And so, for example, if child B, it's more energetically correct for them to eat their largest meal during lunchtime, they may have a bigger lunch at school and they may just be a picky eater when it comes to dinner. And so if a parent understands this, they're not going to get into any kind of, hey, I'm forcing you to eat your whole steak for dinner because you need to eat and that's what you need to do, versus understanding it's probably feels better to them to eat their largest meal in the daytime. So if they pick at their food, that's fine. If they're eating a smaller quantity, then maybe we expect that's completely fine. Or maybe they're eating something that's just lighter. Maybe it's just a salad, or maybe it's just some fruit or something like that. So you see how these things can be really helpful when we have this information. I'm telling you, I wish I would have known all this stuff when I was a young single mom. My son is now out of the house. So anyway, but it can be really helpful, especially if you have young kids at home. And it can also be really helpful when you're making decisions about parenting dynamics and how are we going to parent these three kids that we have here running around the house. All right, so that's all I have for you about a family reading. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this was helpful in some way.